Okay, boat's a mess again. Back to doing more work. But this is not work on batteries or anything like that. This is just general work on fixing some leaks on the foredeck and a few other things. Just put some lead ballast in the aft section to make up for the changes of weight and batteries that I moved around. So what I'm going to do today is describe some of the, idiosyncrasies with the Epoch batteries, the 460 Marines. And it's nothing critical and it's nothing difficult. It's just you have to know what's going on and then how to fix them every once in a while, or at least recalibrate them every once in a while. So as we know, the 460 Marines like to have a absorption voltage of 13.9, 13.8 or 13.9, and a float of 13.4 or 13.5. They're very happy at that point, and they work great, and they have full capacity. They will have an actual capacity, discharge capacity of 460 amp hours, usually plus about 5, minus 0 or so. Anyways, so what happens is, because we charge to absorption of 13.9, the batteries have an internal state of charge meter, and that state of charge meter is reset when the battery is fully charged to 100%. But there is detection algorithms in there, and I might be able to look and see what they are, but they're very close to the 13.9. So sometimes it's difficult, if you have some voltage drop during charging, to hit that state of charge reset area where it's going to reset. So right now I've been floating. I'm floating right now at 13.5. I've got that set in there, but for a couple months now I've actually been floating at 13.4, and I just did that as an experiment. And at 13.4, the drift of the state of charge meters of the Epoch is a little bit higher at 13.4 than it is at 13.5. So I've set it back to 13.5, but we still have a lot of drift. So right now you can see my smart shunt, my Victron smart shunt, is 100%, but the Epochs are at 84. And if you read on the Epoch app, it'll say 395 of 460 amp hours remaining, but that's not accurate. And it's not accurate because I haven't reset that internal shunt state of charge meter in the Epoch for quite some time, and it's been drifting at 13.4 where I had the float voltage previously. And you can see when you're in float, you have these numbers. It's 0.8 amps bouncing around, 0.9 amps, and that will go into a negative number sometimes. But as we know, the state of charge meters on large drop-in batteries, generally, including the Epoch 460, generally don't register very small amp loads. So the shunt is seeing that. The Victron shunt can see this down to 0.1. Anything below 0.1, the smart shunt won't see that either. But it's seeing these very small ones. The Epoch app is not seeing those at all. So this leads to the drift over time. I mean, as you saw right now, there's actually a little bit of amperage going into this battery, but this isn't registering at all, so it's not bringing that up. This was at 99.9, and just for whatever reason, I think I turned some loads on the battery, so the Multiplus actually started putting out a little bit more current to try to maintain the 13.5. So it brought it up to 100, and it detected, these very small amperages, but the Epoch did not detect them all, so that 84 did not come up. So that's how you accumulate the drift. So the Epoch tends to drift in these conditions, and unless you get to a full charge, the Epoch state of charge meter will not reset, and you'll be stuck somewhere at some mid-level amount. And the remedy to this is just to charge it to full. So what I'm about to do, and just before I do it, let me explain something. I don't care about this. I don't care about it. Don't worry about it, especially if you're at the dock for a while. But say if you're going to go take the boat out and you're going to be spending a week or two out and about, then just do this procedure that I'm about to do, and we'll reset this to 100% again. Or just go buy the smart shunt. I use this information from the Epochs and on the Epoch app to check the cell, to check the voltage at the batteries. But state of charge meters are really, not to be counted on long term, unless you have just reset it through the method that we're about to do, which is just essentially charge it to full. Now, when I charge these to full, let me back up. As I said before, the 13.9 absorption for the marine battery is very close to what will reset the internal state of charge meters on the Epoch. But depending on the current drop from what I have set at absorption that's coming out of the Multiplus and what the battery actually sees, I might not reach that threshold exactly. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to now set my absorption voltage in the Multiplus 2 to 14.5. I'm going to reset the Multiplus with the rocker switch. It's going to re-engage into an absorption phase. It's going to bring the batteries up, and it probably won't take that long. Even though this says 84%, this is not accurate. This is accurate. So it's not going to take long to go from 13.5 to 14.5. Now it may not reach 14.5 because the conditions to set full charge protection on the Epoch 460 marine batteries is, as Ben Stein pointed out and recorded in his testing, 14 volts and above. That brings you into the threshold of monitoring for the full charge protection. Then amps have to draw 3.5 or less. They will be 3.6, less than 3.6. So as the battery gets full and all the seats at the table are being filled during charge, as it gets full, the amperage is naturally going to drop off. It's what the battery wants to take. It's getting full. It doesn't want to take any more current. So as this reaches 14.1, 14.2, this amperage is going to be higher because I have it set to 14.5. So that's the pressure that's trying to push the more seats at the table. So it will continue to draw some current, probably 4, 5, 6 amps. But then as it starts to get up there in voltage, maybe 14.2, 14.3, that current's really going to drop. Now, since we're above 14 volts, and as the current drops, as soon as it hits 3.5 amps, then after 10 seconds of the Epoch BMS seeing that, it will set full charge protection. And again, what full charge protection is, it just doesn't, the battery wants to make sure it's not held at 14.4 or 14.5 for days on end because it's bad for the battery. So that's what full charge protection is. And once we hit full charge protection, I'll show you how to quickly clear it without too much effort. It's not a big deal. You just have to clear it, and then the batteries will discharge at the same rate. If you get one battery that goes into full charge protection and the other one doesn't, and you start discharging, they will discharge unevenly. So this is just a way to correct that. See, now we're in a little bit of negative right here, and the Epoch has just started picking it up. Whoops, come on. The Epoch has just started picking it up at 1.5, 1.4. So clearly the Epoch can see, I think in my testing, I thought that it could see 1 amp or less. Yeah, well, there was 1.3, so maybe 1.2 amps is about the threshold. Yeah, somewhere right around there. And of course, as you know, the smart shunt can see 0.1 amps. So that right there is an illustration of how drift in the Epoch shunts will accumulate over time. And that's not particular to Epoch. That's particular to all drop-in lithium iron phosphate batteries that have an internal shunt and Bluetooth to display that information. And from my experience, the larger the amp hour battery capacity, the larger that discrepancy is. Alright, well, let me go through this. I'm going to reset my Multiplus absorption to 14.5. I'm going to reset the Multiplus, and then we will let it go through a charge cycle, and we'll monitor it and watch how it goes through its paces. Alright, so we're going to go into the Victron Multiplus, which is under there, and we're going to use the MK3. So I just have the MK3 in this cable, which goes to a normal USB, and then you get a normal USB to USB-C adapter to go into your tablet or phone. That way you don't need to use a laptop. The other end of this is just an RJ45 cable, and I put in a bulkhead connector here with the other side of that bulkhead connector connected to my port on my Multiplus 2, so that way I don't have to feel around down there every time I want to make a change with the Victron Connect. So everything's hooked up. I should just go here, getting the data. If you pull this up and you're on the VRM, that might confuse you. Go to local. Okay, so now we're going to go into the Multiplus 2. Alright, and then this is just basic information. We're going to go to the gear, Enable settings, password ZZZ, next, okay. Alright, and then of course the tabs to change the absorption are on the charger, and of course right now I have 13.9. We're going to change that to 14.5. Okay, so let's shut this down, because sometimes when you have the MK3 connected, the Multiplus will do some funny things. Little tight, cheap cable. Alright, so let's just see. We are still in float, and you won't re-engage charging until you reset the Multiplus using the switch here. So we're going to go down here, and okay, and there we go, bulk charging. I just reset it, and we are bulk charging with 48 amps. Now let's watch that Epoch voltage climb very quickly. My AC just came back on. Let's see what the system's doing. Pulling 2600 out of the grid. Okay. Settings, back to device list. Alright, so we're charging to 33.1 amps. That's in one battery, 66 amps for both. So right now the Intrigue Epoch line is only reading one battery. So voltage is climbing fairly quickly. $63 amps. Already up to 13.7. So one of the questions is, if you're, is it really that the Epoch state of charge meters are off, or is the battery actually at 380 amp hours of 460? Well, if it was really at 380 amp hours of 460 at 61 amps, it would take quite a while to charge this, a couple hours. But if it's just actually that the state of charge meter is off, and now I'm just topping off the battery, it shouldn't take very long, maybe 15 minutes. Maybe less, we'll see. We're already at 13.76. You can see the voltage drop across the wires at 60 amps. Right now it's 0.07 volts of drop. Not too much. So we're still bulk charging. We're almost up to 13.8. And later I'll open up the app to show you, or to take screenshots of what the batteries are going to be doing. As a matter of fact, let's maybe I can bring it up here while we're waiting. Sorry about all this glare. I'm going to have to do it this way. Let me disconnect this. Okay, so we're going to turn that one on, and we're going to turn this one on. This is very impromptu, so forgive the dashboard. So see, mine say 376 and 397. That's just way off. All right, and we're already up to 13.8, so the voltage is climbing very quickly. 13.9 on this one. And so as soon as it gets to 14, the full charge protection is going to be enabled. Alright, but the full charge protection is not going to come on right at 14 because we're still drawing more than 3.5 amps. So we're going to let this go, and at some point you'll see this reset to 100%, this reset to 100%, this reset to whatever, 465, same here, 465 out of 460 amp hours. And this is the method you do just to correct your state of charge, manually correct your state of charge meters if it's important to you. To me it's not very important, but I just wanted to demonstrate this because I use the Victron shunt for most of my information. I use this for secondary information, but not state of charge information, especially over the long term if you don't get to recharge to full all the time. So we're already at 14 volts. We started at 13.5, give or take. And you know, hardly any amp hours have gone into these things. It is registering it, you know, it is counting amp hours. As you see, this one just went up 0.1. So let's take this over here and compare it. Got to silence my alarms because I had shut everything off. Go back to settings and the device list. Alright, so we're down to 56 amps. We were up at over 60 before. The Epoch is now at 14.3. Okay, let's see, we're above 14. Everybody says you can't charge over 14, but you can until these amps drop below 3.5. Alright, we're climbing in amp hours. Okay, there we go. We hit 14.5 momentarily. And look, okay, fully charged, 482 and 458. Both of them hit full charge protection. Alright, so we got warnings on the Touch 50 from the Servo GX that we had high voltage. So let's silence these alarms, get rid of them, go back to settings, device list. Now here's something interesting. If we discharge with both batteries in full charge protection, I actually don't know what will happen. If one of these was in full charge protection, one of them wasn't, you would see an unequal discharge of one taking up like all the amps and the other one not taking up hardly any. And there's reasons for that. I'm not going to go into that right now, but it's all part of the full charge protection. So our charge has stopped. The charge MOSFETs are off for both. I don't believe you can force them back on. Yeah, so you can't force them back on. Alright, so right now batteries are fully charged. They are fully charged, and we did not just jump up 100 amp hours in 10 minutes. This literally took 10 minutes. Alright, so and these voltages will drop down eventually to resting voltage, which for this battery is around 13.4, give or take. It'll take a while for them to come down. You know, 13.35 to 13.45, something like that for these batteries, resting voltage. However, we're going to be floating at 13.5 once it comes down to that point. So shunt here shows 0 amps in, Epoch shows 0 amps in. We are in absorption charging, but we have a disconnect here, so it's not actually charging. Alright, we're only in absorption charging because we haven't reached the 14.5 volts that I set. Alright, so when I clear these, which we will do next, then we will get everything back online like normal. Alright, so let me do that. Let me set up to clear these, and I'll show you how that's done. To clear these, we're just going to take it off of shore power. We're just going to go to shore power 1, which has nothing on it, and we should immediately start inverting. I've shut off the AC because I just don't want to hammer everything too much. So we have lost the grid. We will go back to overview real quick. We are inverting, okay? But we're only pulling a very small amount, and you can see, and actually you can see it. Okay, so 2 batteries in full charge protect. One is taking the load. So what we're going to do is we're just going to shut one battery off through these remote switches. Okay, I don't know which battery that was. Obviously it's the one right there, the one that's gone. Okay, so fully charged. As soon as this gets down a little bit, this fully charged will go down. So what I'm going to do is, I should have done this already, but we're going to get a little bit of cup of water here, and we're just going to turn the microwave on for a second. Alright, we got our cup of water in the microwave. We're microwaving. We're going to, huge draw. Okay, huge draw, 183 amps. Watch that voltage drop, and then this is going to go out here in just a few seconds. Hopefully before I heat my cup of water up too much. should be the next point voltage drop when it goes to 13.3. Any second. Come on, my water's heating up too much. I could run the AC. There we go. Okay, we're going to do the other one. Still has the, this one is 299. The other one was 318. So I have that battery on and the other one off now. And if I just let it go at 24 amps, as soon as this hits 13.35 for, I think, whatever it is, 10 seconds, it will also clear. But let's just hammer it with the microwave again. Let's see if it actually just hit 13.3. I'm not even going to use the microwave. Let's see. So let's just hammer it for a second with the microwave. There goes a big load, and as soon as I hit that microwave, that sucker cleared. So let me shut this off. And now we're still at 100%. We're at 453 of 460. And again, I don't even know how accurate that is, but let's go back to, let's turn the other battery on. All right. And we will go back to Bluetooth, and 299's on. We got to turn 318 back on. Go back to the dashboard. Now they're both out of full charge protection. They're both at 100%. If you go up here on the Touch 50, we're at 100%. We're still inverting. So there is a little bit of a draw on it. I kind of screwed this up on the second half in my videoing, but I think you can get the point. I let this one run for a little bit longer as I was trying to mess with the microwave and my phone in the video. So that is now clear. Now I'm going to go back into the MK3, reset my inverter absorption voltage to 13.9 again, and then these, every time I recharge again, these will go back to 100% for a while. And then, you know, if you get, once these start to get out too far and they bother you, just do that same procedure again. Now I'm videoing this, so it took me a little bit longer, and this is actually the first time I've done it in this way. I knew this would work, I just never really cared that much to do it. But I see a lot of discussion online and in the forums about you know, why is my battery this or that, and they think that when it says 476 or 453 that is a very accurate representation of what the battery has. It's not. It's a rough estimate. So take these numbers here with a grain of salt. All right, I'm sure this one isn't 476, and I'm sure this one isn't 453. Every time anybody's cap checked one of these with an actual capacity check, they usually come in about 464, 465, somewhere around that. So this is a little bit ambitious. This is a little bit underrated. And as you see, they're discharging roughly equally. Voltages are roughly the same, and up here everything looks good. The smart shunt is 99%, and the Epoch is 100%. Always take these numbers with grains of salt. All right, they're just rough estimates. They're just kind of a halfway decent feedback for you, and that's including the smart shunt. The smart shunt has its own drift and things like that, and it also has to be charged to 100% before it goes to its full charge detection criteria to reset to 100%. Same with this one. This one's just a little bit different algorithm on what constitutes a certain amount of voltage and current drop until it reaches 100%. So I hope that makes things more clear. And what to do if you get the full charge protection. And if you have just charged and one of these is red and they're discharging in amperage very, very differently, you need to just do exactly what I did. And like I said, this, I was videoing, so and screwed a few things up, and this is the first time I did this, but this literally took me about, I don't know, 15 or 16 minutes. And if I wasn't videoing and I was just rushing through this real quick, this would take me less than 10 minutes. So when these get so far off that it bothers you, or you're about to say embark and go out and you want them to be more accurate, then just go ahead and go do this reset procedure. It's not a huge deal. You know, these batteries are fantastic, but there's always some finickiness on state of charge meters and various things, and that includes Epoch batteries. I have a Chins battery in my electric mower, and it has the same type of quirks and things like that, and it also includes a lot of the Victron stuff, a lot of quirks that you have to understand and know, so that when you see them you can maneuver or do whatever you need to do to get around them. Alright, so I hope that helps, and I'm going to do a lot more videos on some of the finer points of the operation of the 460, especially because that's the flagship battery. It's a really good battery, has a lot of capacity, it's very beefy, should last a long time, waterproof, has all these features that are very, very helpful, like these on-off switches. They're fantastic having these up here. Alright, and so we have to put up with a little bit of quirks on them. You know, I imagine that when Epoch comes out with another battery in 3, 4, 5 years, some of these kinks and quirks will be worked out, or when they release more updates to the app. And they do release updates to the app. It takes a while. I mean, you know, they probably rushed this one just a little bit because there was so many complaints about the other app, which I liked fine, and I like this one fine, but there's still a lot of complaints about it. But I find them minor inconveniences instead of anything that's, you know, I consider terrible or insurmountable or anything like that. So everything works, and don't forget, now that a lot of times you come from lead acid batteries, now you have all this information, you know, and somebody's like, oh yeah, I got the best battery in the world right here. Oh, this one sucks, you know, this is terrible, I'm not getting my 460. Not true. Don't look at this. If you had any questions about whether you were missing capacity or anything like that, you need to do a capacity test with something that's accurate, like a West Mountain Radio capacity tester, which I bought one for testing, and that is the only way to get an accurate assessment of the health of your battery, and whether you're actually going to get your full capacity, rated capacity. These are state of charge meters, and this is a very rough estimate of capacity, so don't put too much stock into it. That's not just Epoch, that's any battery with a Bluetooth that has state of charge meters in it. Alright, hope that helps. More later.